Hey everybody, welcome to my channel again. This is Jason Buff with Portrait Masterclass. Today I'm going to talk about a really important part of my editing process, and that is adjustment layers. And I'm going to give you just a little bit of history so you understand kind of what adjustment layers are, why they're important, and why you need to be using them when you're editing. Now, it used to be up here, back in the day, you would have to come up here to Image, Adjustments, and you would have to edit directly onto your image. So let's try curves, for example. So curves, we have our dialog box here, and what we're going to do is just kind of raise this up so it gets brighter. Now you'll notice that when I'm raising that, the layer itself is becoming brighter. It's actually editing on top of this layer. So it's not really ideal because we don't want to use effects that we can't go back and change later. So, and also we can only edit this one layer at a time. So it is really something that's not ideal, but it's something that we had to use when our computers didn't have as much RAM and as much power as they do now. So I'm just going to hit cancel. Now we have something, and this has been around for a really long time. In fact, I don't remember the last version of Photoshop that didn't have adjustments. Right here is the panel for adjustment layers. And I would like to say that I use this panel a lot, but I almost never use this panel because I like to keep a very clean layout for Photoshop. I really like to just have my layers panel, so I would probably never use this up here. I don't use these guys at all. I go down here. Like right down here is where the adjustment layers can be found. And if I click on that, you've got all these options right here. So I've got solid color. So that means if I click it, it'll just be a solid color on the top. I use that every once in a while. I've also got just about everything that I had over on the images tab. So curves is one that I use a lot. Hue, saturation, color balance, selective color. And you'll notice that these are also grouped into like things that do kind of the same thing, like curves and levels kind of do the same thing. Brightness and contrast, I don't really use that much, but it's a very simple way to adjust the brightness and contrast. But let's go back to curves. I'm going to click on curves, and the important thing that you'll notice here is instead of applying curves to this layer, you're applying it to its own layer. And why is that so important? Well, it's important because now I can go on top of here and I can raise the brightness, and I can lower it, and it's not affecting this image. This image is actually, it's exactly the same. And another thing that I can do, if I come over here, I can actually, create a mask for this. So I'm going to actually hit Control I so it turns black, and you don't see this layer anymore. If this is all black, that means that you cannot see what's in this layer. And then I can slowly start painting white back into this layer. So I'm just going to paint white on this guy's head. Don't think he'll mind. And so now I've been able to kind of isolate him by just making his face a little brighter. I actually kind of like that better than what I had. It actually looks pretty good. And then you can kind of, bring it down if you want to. You can just kind of adjust it by eye and see what kind of works for you. And so that's very powerful. And I can add another one on top here. I can do selective color. And I can just kind of play around with my grays. A lot of times I'll put my grays a little bit, the cyans, I'll move that over to the right a little bit. The yellows, I'll move that over to the right. And just kind of get kind of a weird color from it, And then again, I can just take that down if I want to and play around with the colors. So there's no real end to the fun enjoyment that you could have with adjustment layers. I really use this constantly in order to build layers on top of my images, and then you can always go back and turn them off and turn them back on again. I'm actually, now that I'm looking at this, I'm kind of feeling like the guy's face was too dark in the image that I did, so I kind of wish that I had lightened him up a little bit like this. There you go. But I hope that's helpful for you guys, and I definitely, if you haven't used the adjustment layers, you should definitely get down here and start playing with them. All right, that's it for today. I appreciate you guys listening to this class, and we'll be back soon with a lot more classes on Photoshop. Thanks a lot, guys.